Alrighty, the Comet. Probably everyone knows by now that the new British Lights line is going to come off the Comet tree, so this will be the start of the new tank lines. So it's a good time to grind XP in the Comet if you've got one. Now, I've got a long history with the tank. Back in the day it was one of my favourite tanks in Blitz, and it sort of still is. It has a warm place in my heart. It was a beautifully crafted vehicle at the time, and in many ways still is. So it's not so much a tank review as a revisit of the tank. There will be some do's and don'ts, but let's have a look at the tank in the meta of the new game, because what you got to bear in mind is when it came out, it wasn't getting challenged by Helsings and Dracs and Smashers. There was less tier 8 heavy premiums. You didn't have tanks with the mobility of the AMX CDC. You didn't have T49s, which can derp your ass in one shot. It was a very different game. The maps were different. None more so than the New Bay. It was a different game, and in a lot of ways it was the sort of queen of the battlefield. And to be honest, it obviously no longer is. With all of the tanks mentioned are probably stronger, more OP, better, quicker, whatever. However, and here is the big however, this does not mean that the Comet is not viable, in the modern game. It does not mean that at all. It still has so much going for it, and boy, when I revisited the tank today, did I have some fun. It is so much fun to play. So the first sort of thing to note is, given I'm playing in ratings, I'm going to be bottom tier, you don't have a lot of hit points at all. So you have to be very, very, very careful where you drive it, because you're going to get hit for what, 430, 500 alpha off most of the big guns in this tier, and that's half your hit pool. So one mistake and it's bad news for you. The second thing is, frontally, against tier 8 heavies, in fact most tanks, the gun, the penetration on the gun is god awful, and I think that's because it was never amazing anyway. But you've also got armor buffs to quite a lot of the heavy tanks anyway. So something like a Tiger or whatever, you're not going through the front. Now the poor old Comet has not had a buff to my knowledge in forever, so you're really sort of running this sort of legacy weapon. But what you can do in the tank is get behind stuff. If you can get behind stuff, you've got a fighting chance of penning it. And even then, in some cases, I've been playing with the ammo loadout on it. I'm using an awful lot of APCR in this tank, even to get through sometimes the backs and sides of things. So like I said, the pen is really bad, and even when you use an APCR, you still get BS shots like that into the side of ISs. If you're watching the playing style, I've turned the enemy team here, and I'm using my mobility and my sneakiness to get in behind them. And once you're in behind something, you can just look at the DPM on the tank. You can just burn it down. It's really, it's kind of an Olay moment, when you get in behind, and you can kind of do that. So you can still be effective for the team, but what you can't do is face off things frontally. The next kind of bit of advice I got for you is pick your target. So if you can find something like LTTB, in some cases T49s if you can make them miss, AMX 1375s, definitely RU251s, tanks like that, you can go, and if you really must, you can go dance with them, and actually the DPM on the tank's so flaming good that you can burn them down. But it really is a flanking vehicle. It needs to be played with extreme care and caution, and you've got to really pay attention to the minimap, because you get hit by half the big boppers in tier 8, it's all over for you. I mean, I've been one-shotted by smashers in this, which is a different story, and it just, that can get annoying. The second game, and I put it on deliberately as a second game, because I wanted you to see a sort of typical Comet game first, and that's sort of a typical Comet game. You know, a bit of a struggle, a bit of a have to think about what you're doing, having a furrow PCR more than I'd like, a little bit of a just sort of grinding out 1.8k damage sort of game. The second game is what I would say is a sort of marquee Comet game. It's the sort of map the Comet likes, and there's scenarios within this game where the Comet can just shine like the beast it is. But I didn't show this game first because I don't think it's honest. It's not an honest appraisal of the tank. It's not this good every time. It can be, and you know, like I said, when it's in the right circumstance, when it all comes together for you, it is just you going olay in your head. It is just the most fun you can have. But a lot of the time you're not going to have those circumstances. So I'm going to support the AMX-75 here and try and get this Panther out. And if you look at the Panther, look at the armour on even the Panther. I'm moving already into the APCR box of doom, and you know, just to get through the front of that. In terms of the armour, you've got none. I've got a bounce there. If you've got it slightly angled, you can get some off the front plate. The turret can bounce stuff, but you know, I've been penned by all sorts of things through the turret. You need to rock forwards and back and just not get shot. You can't rely on the armour. Anyhow, the Panther pushes the AMX as I thought he would, so I'm just going to come around here and get the DPM to work on the Panther and try and save my buddy here, which I managed to do, and we both say thanks and good job. So we took the Panther out between us, and as I was saying, I think in the previous game, something like an RU-251 is a good target for this vehicle because you've got good mobility like the RU. You can certainly pen it because it's got pretty much chuffle armour, and on top you can out DPM it. So as you can see, I've literally moved into the RU and their Comet. They're my next targets. I'm not getting involved with the and I will trade, by the way. I'm more than happy to trade with this guy because my DPM is off the scale compared. He's put 1 in, I've put in 3. But I've not got involved with their IS-5, their T-34, any of their heavies. I'm not going anywhere near that bridge unless I absolutely have to. So what I'm going to do is just work on clearing out their softer meds. And there, up there, is how not to play a Comet. That don't do what this kid's doing. You're just going to get wrecked. You can see how quickly you can get wrecked. It's just your hit points will go. You know what I mean? You can't be doing that. You got to be mobile and you got to be flanking and using the gun depression. And like I said, really thinking about what you're doing. So I can now move into the heavies, and this is the sort of territory that the Comet can move into, but like seriously only at the end of a game when there's things to be flanked and picked off. So there goes the AMX, and then we're into the T-34 and the IS-5. And if you look at what I'm going to do here, I am not, and this is because I played the tank about 20 games in the last 2 days, and I've made these mistakes. I'm not going to push that T-34. I don't know where the IS-5 in it is, just popped behind me. As luck would have it, is pretty much full health. In fact, he is full health. Either one of those tanks can literally remove pretty much all my hit pool. I don't want to get involved or spotted by the IS-5. And basically what I want to do is sit here and wait for someone else to push this T-34. I need him to basically fire. The moment he fires, I'm going. There you go, and you can hit the tracks on stuff. Deluxe in this, track him up. I'm just betting that I can get past before he can get a shot in. No. And you see that really bloody hurt, but what I can do now is put another 2 shots into him. I'm not going to risk getting greedy and putting the 3rd in because I know my buddy's there on the right and he will deal with his T-34. Wait for it. Go on, pop, you bugger. There we go. And now we can do the IS-5. And this is kind of what I meant by the sort of Olay moments you can get with the Comet. You got a heavy tank left. He's not wanting to see me. He's pointing the other way, and I can just rock on down here, and I can give this guy a proper flogging. And 1 in the arse just for good measure. Thank you very much. Good night. Love it. Olay. So the Comet is still viable. It's still great fun. It's not really a hardship to drive it if you're going to grind some XP for the new line. Get in it, have a laugh. it's not OP anymore. It's middle of the pack. But if you're just patient, I guess, kind of listen to the things I've said. They're more of a refresher for most of you guys, because I'm sure you've all played this tank before. In the new meta of the game, just take it steady with the Comet. You'll be just apples, and you'll have a real laugh while you're at it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See ya.